Hey everyone, how's it going? This is the Vita Cast, episode 13. We're recording on January 21st, 2014. I'm your host, Tyler Olthoff, and with me I have Kyle Wakeling.
Hey guys.
Brian Sharon.
Hi everybody.
And Yuki in the chat, like usual. We just got done talking to John. You'll hear that later on in the episode. We're talking about OlliOlli, so be ready for that. But first up, let's talk about a few things that we've been playing. I've been playing, like I just said, OlliOlli, which is an amazing game. Comes out today. Kyle reviewed it, so I'm sure he has a lot more to talk about it, but I played a lot of that. I also played some more Killzone Mercenary. I dove into some more Terraria, and I feel like I also played some Spelunky. Can't get enough of that. I need to play some more of the daily challenges, though. I've been slacking on that. But it's so stressful because I'll get to like level 1-2 and then killed by spikes because a bat hit me and launched me off the world, pissing me off. But I don't even want to talk about that. That's depressing. What else did I also played some Hot Shots Golf. Kicked Kyle's ass. Not really. I lost. Did I play anything else? Oh, Kyle will be happy about this, but I got back into some used memories of Celceta, got a little farther than that, and I think I got to the point where it's hooked me even more, so now I've been wanting to play that all day, but I have to work later, which sucks. Work. Anyways, I think that's all I've been playing. Kyle, what about you?
I'd just like to congratulate you for playing Wise, and you should play some more of that. Skip work.
I'll just do that, not get any money. Sounds like a plan.
So I've been playing a couple games. For the lounge play, we played Need for Speed Most Wanted, PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, and Killzone Mercenary, which was pretty good. And also we played Hot Shots Golf after, just a couple of the guys here. So Scott actually kicked my ass, who joined us, but I beat Tyler, so that's okay.
At this point, do you even have to tell people that you beat Tyler, Kyle?
Okay.
Is that just a given? Or?
Probably not.
Really, Brian?
I beat him like he owes me child support.
I don't even have the game, and I think 1 week I beat you. I'm not sure. I have to check.
Okay, so I don't understand why you guys are abusing me here. I am pretty damn good at Hot Shots. I had an off day, okay? Leave me alone. I'll get Kyle next time.
Yeah, you hope.
Oh, I will. It's not even hope.
So the only other game that I played this week was OlliOlli, which was awesome. My review's up on site, so if you want my full, details on how good this game is, go there. But I'll just tell you, even though they haven't really captured the realism of skateboarding, they've definitely captured the essence. It goes back to that whole, learn to trick and get into the game and, compete with your friends ideal, and it definitely has that one more try aesthetic. So it's really good game. I think even people who don't like skateboarding necessarily would be into it just because of the fact that it almost comes down to rhythm and preciseness. I noticed I was actually playing a song that wasn't on the OlliOlli soundtrack while I was playing, and it synced up pretty well to the grinds and stuff. So if you find something that goes with what you play, you can definitely do a little bit better with that rhythm mechanic. But other than that, it's a great game, and I pretty much recommend it to anybody who has the money to buy it. Brian, what have you been playing?
Well, like everybody else on this panel, I've been flipping over some OlliOlli. I agree with everything you said, Kyle. I also think that it weirdly does channel the feeling of skateboarding, and maybe not traditionally, but just hear me out for a moment. If anybody's skateboarded for trying to make a video or anything like that, you know that it takes a lot of runs to get that one video clip that you want down, and it captures that. You almost have to do a million tries before you get that one try you're happy with and you accomplish the goal. So for me, it really does feel true in that sense, but I've been really enjoying it, and I think that Roll 7 are going to move on to bigger, better things, and hopefully they'll stick with the OlliOlli franchise moving forward, because it's snuck up on, I think, everybody on this panel and in our community as well. apart from that, I picked up Thomas Was Alone from the 14 for 14 sale, and I loved that game. I played it right through in a couple of days on the weekend. I loved it thoroughly. I'm going to go and pick up the DLC for that game. It's just amazing. If you're a fan of puzzle platformers or something like Portal, it's going to be right down your alley. Other than that, I've been playing a couple of PlayStation mobile games. I've been playing Mononoke Slashdown, which was free a couple weeks ago on the festive giveaway. And then I've also been playing Rimmed Capsule, which is an interesting game. It's sort of a tower defense meets Tetris, of all things. But I really enjoy it. And yeah, it's one of those games that you could play for hours and you don't feel stressed, even though you're under a lot of stress, but you just don't feel that way. It's the ambiance is there, and you always feel like you're in tune with the game. So yeah, I've been enjoying it a lot. That's all.
That's all.
All right. Well, we're gonna throw it right back to you. And what are the new releases for this week, Brian?
Well, I think this week we have a big release. But anyways, well, I'll talk about North America first. Everybody here has talked about it. OlliOlli is out today in North America, and if you're hearing this, it's already out yesterday, so you're already playing it. Woo! Also, the PS1 classic Lucifer Ring is on its way today on behalf of Monkey Paw, and also the demo for Tukiden, The Age of Demons, is out. As for Europe, they get OlliOlli tomorrow, so by the time you're listening to this, it'll be coming out. And then Dragon Ball Z on Friday the 24th. The demo, the full version arrives on the 24th. And that is all.
Wait a minute. So Dragon Ball Z comes out on a Friday?
Europe gets some weird releases like that.
Wait a minute. When does it come out for the US?
Next Tuesday.
Ah!
Tyler's gonna fly to Europe.
So, if you're on Twitter and you're from Europe and you pick up Dragon Ball Z, Battle of Z, you gotta let us know what you're super saying about the game.
Oh, gosh.
And also tweet at Mr. PS Vita Reviews and tell him how much he does not have the game and you have it. That'd be a good idea, too.
Yeah, I think he'd get so mad that his energy level would go over, 9,000.
Yeah, maybe. He's already Super Saiyan, though. Have you seen his hair?
I do have some blonde hair, but you guys are pissing me off. All right. Let's ollie on over to the news here. No? Mine wasn't good enough? Whatever. You guys...
I generally kickflip into the news, but that's just me.
Whatever. This has nothing to do with kickflipping, but let's talk about the Chainsaw Incident, a horror-themed fighter. Not much is yet known about Crazy Piranha's new horror-themed fighter, but what we do know to us is... Wow, I gotta read better. But what we do know has us intrigued. There we go. The cast of characters in every sense of the word will include 26 fighters, with 2 available as free-to-play assets. We got some screenshots on the site of showing some of the characters. Other than that, we're sort of in the dark. It's been stated both in video and otherwise that there'll be a Kickstarter campaign, though we couldn't find it at the time of writing that post, so there is a trailer, little teaser thing that you can watch, so go check that out. I'm not into fighter games, so this doesn't really call to me, but what about you guys? Are you guys interested in this at all?
Yeah. I'm definitely interested in it. I think the whole horror theme added to a fighter gives something interesting to play. I've never really, gone into a fighter and pulled out a chainsaw and cut somebody's head off, so that'll be something fun to try. What about you, Brian?
Yeah, I love the hand-drawn aesthetic. I love the horror style of the game. I'm one of those people that doesn't really get really into into fighting games where I get really competitive and I go for the ultra super combos. But I'm the person that enjoys a fighting game that speaks to me, and this one really looks like it speaks to me. I've yet to play it. Obviously, we only know a little bit about the game, but what I've seen so far really impresses me, especially the fluidity of the combat.
All right. Well, next up, Tecmo Koei announces the Tokiden Age of Demons demo, which Brian talked about in the new releases. So the demo is out now, if you're listening to this. Which, I'm going to download it. Kyle's going to download it.
Well, it's out in North America, just so we don't get our European friends excited. I think it comes out on the 29th in Europe. So you win some, you lose some, Europe.
Ha! Take that. All right. Well, Brian, are you going to download it, or are you just going to look at it?
I am going to download it. I'm pretty interested in it. How about yourself?
I did say that earlier that I would be downloading it, didn't I?
Well, I don't listen to what you say until I ask you.
Well, I'll remember that later on in the podcast when you start talking, and I'm like, oh, I didn't hear that.
I love that.
Okay, children, come on.
Hey, you aren't a part of this. Don't make yourself
I'm a part of everything.
Well, not speaking of anything, do you guys know if this is a multiplayer demo at all?
I'm actually not sure. The only thing I do know about the demo is that your game save will transfer over to the full game. So
interesting. Well, if this game does have multiplayer, are we thinking about adding it to the Lounge Play?
Yeah, I'd definitely play a demo in the Lounge Play. I don't mind, something different and new, even if it's a little bit, doesn't give you a full effect of the game.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Something new and fresh. So, other than that, we got a lot of news, by the way, so be ready for some more talking from me. Yeah, I know you guys love my voice. It's beautiful and soothing and... Right, Brian? Or were you listening?
No. That's why I can't listen to you, Tyler. I didn't want to tell you, but I'm almost too attracted to your voice. It's distracting, so I have to tune out every so often.
I get that a lot. It makes sense. Well, let's go to the next bit of news. Monster Mon Peace is coming west this spring. IGN has just confirmed that it will be coming to both North America and Europe this spring. Here's a few details about the title. It's developed by Compile Heart, developers of Hyperdimensia Neptunia? Yeah. It's a 3x3 grid-based card game in which you summon monsters, much like in Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic the Gathering. There's a story with plenty of cutscenes and story segments, and it's probably going to have a very mature rating because there's a lot of rubbing of the screen. I know Brian really likes this feature. Well, are you okay, Brian? I mean, that could have been taken a different way, how it sounded.
No, I just have a headache, that's all. That's nothing. I'm a little under the weather.
You got very robot-y there for a second, but are you feeling okay?
Yeah, I'm just a little under the weather, that's all.
Okay. Well, hopefully this game will bring your spirits right back up, right?
Yeah, keep talking about it, please.
Idea Factory also wrote that it would like to inform fans and prospective users of Monster Mon Peace that they have made the decision to cut several Monster Girl images from the North American and European versions of Monster Mon Peace. This decision was made solely due to the intense sexual nature of Monster Girl card images. We'd like to emphasize that the gameplay, game system, and storyline are still fully intact. So, yeah, some of your cards have very graphic illustrations on them, and they took some out, which... I mean, I wish they would have just changed the image or made it like something slightly different to keep the card in there, because I think having all the cards would be nice, but yeah, having the graphically sexual cards might be a little awkward. So I understand why they did it.
So Yuki's probably pissed, and he's probably storming Idea Factory as we speak.
You're right, Tyler. Like, how does that affect the balance of the game?
Why do
I don't know. We'll have to see, but
well, if let's say one of the cards is like a special card, and I don't know honestly if any of the cards that are sexually drawn are actually really good cards or not. But if you have a card in there that you're not going to have any more of, and it's like a unique card, then that changes how the game plays in North America and Europe from Japan.
I agree.
So I mean, like I said, I wish they just like maybe added like a bit of clothes or something, or did something to make it less sexual. That way, the card stays there, everything's fine, everyone's happy. But I guess it's easier for them to just remove the card fully.
So I guess now that they've removed it, I can let you know. Compile Hart and I had been working on a special card. It's called the Brian is Pantless card, and it was just too much for. I know a lot of people here had been requesting it, but it just didn't feel right to release that here. So you guys are gonna have to import the Japanese version for that.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm kind of glad that I'm getting the North American version now. No offense, Brian. Yuki, you excited about that? Brian might be in the game.
The quicker we move on from this topic, the
better. Hey, you brought it up. I mean, if you don't,
I know. Like most things I say, they're worth rubbish.
Wait a minute. What was that sound? I heard a bloop. Oh, that was John leaving the conversation. All right. Next up, Don't Starve's PS4 success increases Clee's. Is it Clee's or Cly's?
I believe it's Clay.
Clay's interest in Vita. After recently launching as part of the PlayStation Plus Instant Game Collection on PlayStation 4, Don't Starve breached well beyond the million-player threshold, prompting developer Clay Entertainment to further consider bringing the game to other platforms, including PlayStation Vita. They said, we're investigating a proper Vita version of Don't Starve at the moment, but we're not quite sure yet. And, yeah, I played it on the PlayStation 4, and it's enjoyable. I could see it doing quite well on the PlayStation Vita. They also stated that currently a lot of people play Don't Starve Console Edition using the PlayStation 4's Remote Play and really enjoy it, so we're looking into a proper Vita release. So it's quite interesting that a lot of people are actually using the Remote Play feature and that the developers are taking note of that. So perhaps if more people use Remote Play on certain games, more developers will be interested in bringing it to the Vita. Have you guys, or Brian, do you have a PlayStation 4?
I don't yet, unfortunately.
Kyle,
however, it was one of those games. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it was one of those games that I was desperately looking for when it hit the PlayStation Store as part of the Instant Game Collection. I was really jealous of you guys.
Gotcha. Kyle, what about you? Have you tried it?
I haven't tried it. I've downloaded it, and it's on my list. I just haven't got there yet. I was actually going to play it via Remote Play, but I heard from a couple people that if you play it with subtitles, which I usually like to do, that these subtitles are very hard to read on the Vita, so I guess that's probably what contributed to him wanting to port it to the Vita.
I gotcha. Yeah, I played it a little bit. I think I'm made it to day 7, because it goes by a day and night system. And I haven't played it since. Played it once, I enjoyed it, but I've been so busy with Vita games that I haven't had the chance to go back to it. But yeah, maybe I'll jump back in it someday. Next up, Muramasa Rebirth Update version 1.01 causes audio bug. So this is not good. But yeah, the recent update that you need to play Fishy Tales of the Nekomata DLC has caused an audio issue, which is making people upset, which it would make me upset if any of my games' audio stopped working. They did say that they are currently working on a patch that should be coming out in the near future. They don't give an exact timetable of when you could see it, but they are looking into it. They said that if you'd like to have a quick fix in the meantime, they suggest backing up your save data via Content Manager and then deleting and reinstalling Muramasa Rebirth data to your Vita. This will reset it to version 1.0, however, and you won't be able to play as Okoi unless you have version 1.01. So if you haven't beat the game yet and you want your audio back, I would recommend doing that, and then beat the game and then do the update and hope that they are working on a patch soon. But I haven't played this game in a long time, so it doesn't bug me, and I don't think I'm going to get the DLC, but if anyone's really into this game, it's gonna bug you. Kyle, did you ask? Oh, Brian. What do you got, Brian?
No, I like your little bug you thing. That was all. I got a little. I appreciated your little pun.
Oh, that was unintentional, actually. Kyle, Do you have this game?
I do. I actually haven't started it. That was probably my next stop, along with a couple other things I have to play for other reasons. But yeah, I have it downloaded on my Vita, and I haven't updated yet. So thankfully, I'm not affected by this bug yet, and I probably won't update until I beat it, or they issue a patch to fix that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, just be aware of that bug and do what you need to do to take care of it, or don't update it at all until it's fixed. I mean, we will obviously have a story on that when it is fixed, so stay to the Vita Lounge for more. And my stomach is growling at me. I am hungry.
It's all that don't starve talk.
Yeah. I do have Oreos right in front of me. Hold on a second. My mouth.
Please include this part in the podcast. I hope everybody enjoys hearing you listen to your little Oreos. You can be the new Greg from IGN.
It is pretty good.
Oreo plug.
This podcast,
yeah, if you guys
brought
at
to you by
Oreos,
Oreos.
yeah, if you guys at Oreos want to send us some money for that, we're cool with that.
That was good. All right. PlayStation Now heading to Europe in 2015. You guys got a long way to wait. I feel bad. I'm sorry. But this was announced back at CES about the streaming service that Sony's bringing out, and an image provided by Eurogamer showed a timeline that suggests that the service will hit Europe in Q1 of 2015. So, yeah, there's also a couple other things to note on here, like the US and Canada launch is in Q2 2014. All PlayStation platforms is also within Q2 2014. So, yeah, you got a while to wait if you're in Europe, which is unfortunate, but it's coming. So don't worry if it's something that interests you. I still don't know if I'm going to actually jump in. I'm hoping I get into the beta to at least try it out and see if it's something that I like. But yeah, it is getting close to the end of January, so beta codes hopefully will be going out pretty soon, right? Right? Right?
We don't know, we're Canadians. We weren't included in that beta.
Oh, you guys don't get a beta?
Not unless we forge some zip codes in there and, get around their screening process that way somehow. But, yeah, no beta.
Well, why don't you? Just get some codes, or get some zip codes, and get yourself a beta. I'll make you. You beta do it.
Oh, Lord, Tyler.
Oh, man. Well, let's head on to the next bit of news before I figure out any other stupid puns. All right. Speaking of deceiving a company, let's go to Deception 4. Deception 4 Blood Ties, Western release detailed. Where am I? Oh, European the release is March 28th, 2014, and North America is March 25th, 2014. There's also a trailer to check out, a teaser trailer. And I really don't know much about this game other than what I've read on our own site. But is anyone here interested in this game? You want to talk a bit about it?
Just Yuki.
No, I'll talk about it. They launched their official website, I think, last night. It looks really weird. I've never played a Deception game before, but it's interesting. It looks like you're in almost like a mouse trap kind of situation. If anybody here listening or on the panel recalls that board game Mousetrap.
Sorry, what were you saying? Oh, I brought it back!
All right, back to the news. Now that I've been burned. Yeah, it looks really interesting. There's a lot of traps. It looks really morbid and gruesome. So that's something. If you're looking for a quote-unquote more mature experience on the Vita, this might be something you could look into. But yeah, I'm interested.
Nice. I don't know if I'm interested or not. I think I'll just wait to see what more news about it and maybe watch some more trailers, see if it's something that tickles my fancy. All right. Next bit of news. More Project Diva F second screens, art, and info hit the stage. Yeah. Now I gotta read where I should start reading. Among the new information are details about the Diva Room, and that's an in-game area where you can correspond with the characters and participate in numerous events such as cooking and knitting. Fascinating.
Yay, cooking and knitting.
The room will also receive new items and themes, which will add to its variety. Unlike the PlayStation 3 version of Hatsune Miku, Project Diva F2, communicating with characters on Vita utilizes the unique touchscreen inputs. More touching of characters on the Vita. How exciting.
Realizing that full potential of Sony's handheld, huh?
Who knew? However, you cannot communicate freely, and there will in fact be. I'm adding a B when there shouldn't be. A maximum limit as how many times you can enter into conversation. Furthermore, if you repeatedly attempt to touch characters, they will become aggravated, as would I. Which will lead to an eventual communication timeout. Likewise, if you attempt to shower someone in gifts, they will respond with the reaction of enough already. Once you've upset a character, the difficulty of performing touch communications is increased, and they will literally turn their back to you. How rude.
So I just want to say, if anyone out there wants to touch me or shower me in gifts, I'm cool with that. No, I probably won't say no.
Don't say that. Brian's going to leave the podcast and start driving over.
That guys, I was starting the car. What's going on? But in all honesty, like, okay, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing this incorrectly, but Hatsune Miku is a huge deal in Japan, is she not?
She is.
Like she has her. I was reading another article that she has her own store somewhere in Japan, in some mall, like just an entire store of merchandise dedicated to her. So this is just something that doesn't necessarily translate over here, the Vocaloid genre in general. But she seems to be a pretty big deal, and this game seems to be a pretty big deal for the Vita. So
yeah, the game coming out in the West is good, but I don't know if anyone's going to really care about the touching feature, except for Yuki. Right, Yuki?
Yuki thinks Brian's wrong, and it's not just Japan.
Well,
it's just Japan, isn't it?
He said not just Japan.
So
you got your facts wrong, Brian.
Oh, okay.
How's that feel?
Normal.
Just because of that, you get to review Valhalla Knights 3 Gold.
Let's face it, I was always going to review that game. It was never out of the question.
That's true. Yeah, that one's yours no matter what anyone says. I'm sorry.
Brian will be begging the developers for cheat codes to get to the end of the game.
I've been chewing on this one for a while. Is anybody else surprised that they didn't call Valhalla Knights 3 Gold Valhalla Knights 3 Golden Shower? Like, they have the whole bathroom is. They're obviously alluding to it. It's a gold spa with like showers everywhere. And anyway, I'm not trying to get too dirty for the podcast, but I think they should. If they're gonna wear their freak flag in the game, they should do it with the title as well.
Well, back to topics. Hatsune Miku Project Diva F2 is set to release March 6, 2014 in Japan for PlayStation Vita and PlayStation 3. So look out for that title. All right, next up, New Girls and Panzer screenshots and details. Oh, I just burped because of that Oreo. Hold on. All right. So there's new information about this Girls and Panzer game. There's some modes that have been detailed, and there's a story mode and a battle royale mode, according to Gematsu. The story mode is set to follow the general plot of the television show, whereas the Battle Royale mode will feature 30 tank multiplayer in which players can form their own squads, which, holy S, that sounds awesome. Just saying.
30-player tank battle.
Is this game only for the Vita? Is it like exclusive, or is it coming to multiple systems?
Exclusive.
Healy. Well,
apparently.
Okay.
Indubitably so.
Are you guys at all like intrigued by that?
But the tank battles, yeah, for sure. Not necessarily the game or the anime that it's based on, but the tank battles, the multiplayer looks interesting. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I had like no interest in this game. I was like, cool, girls and tanks. That's not coming to the West. And then I was like, holy crap, 30 tank multiplayer. Now you need to come to the West, and that would be awesome. 15 on 15? Are you kidding me? Unless it's just 30 on or one free for all, that'd be more insane.
The other thing I'm wondering is how slow is this multiplayer going to be? You're driving around in tanks, and you have to turn the turret to shoot at other things. So it's going to be a whole bunch of like as you're like going towards the guy, and then you get like close enough, and then you each like fire off your turret at each other, and then it's like mutually assured destruction.
Has anybody here played World of Tanks?
No, but that's actually what I was going to bring up too, but you go ahead.
No, well, I was just going to counter Kyle. It works pretty well in World of Tanks. It definitely is slower. Don't get me wrong. It's not a first-person shooter that's frantic and a little bit more twitch. But I doubt it'll be as deep as something like World of Tanks. But if it's something like it, even a similar translation for the Vita, I would open it. I would accept it with open arms.
Yeah, I'm excited. It better come to the West now. Probably won't, though, sadly.
Wah, wah.
God, just imagine a lounge play with 15 on 15 combat. Whew! Yeah, you're excited.
No.
Kyle, excuse me. Are we going to have a talk?
Tyler, I don't think there's anything that you could say that would convince me to play slow-ass tank-on-tank games. I like a little action, a little, speed to my games. OlliOlli, kills on mercenary, running around shooting people, getting shot, like, as you spawn. I like that kind of stuff. Not necessarily getting shot as you spawn, but...
Okay, hold on a second. Hold on. You are driving a however many ton tank with some anime girl shooting other how many ton tanks, driving over stuff. Kyle.
Okay, all right. Let's roll along here. Thank you.
I
very
see
much
what you
for doing
did.
That question.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Oh, so funny.
I wish I thought of that one.
You're treading on thin water, Kyle.
Oh, stop it. All right, let's switch gears and... no, fuck you guys. Whatever, I don't want to talk to you guys anymore. Right.
Tyler.
Well, I will. And the next topic...
Yeah, what is the next topic, Brian?
I believe it has something to do with the baseballs. Or does it have to do with the Phoenixes?
It's with the Phoenixes.
Well, they're almost the same thing anyway, so...
Really?
Baseball
Phoenix has a baseball team. Hello.
Whatever. Even though this baseball game's not in the United States. So, you got your states or countries wrong. Oh! Alright, let's head on to the next bit before we go crazy with all this jibber-jabber. Project Phoenix PayPal pledges and rewards go live. So, full PayPal support for Kickstarter title Project Phoenix has gone live, and it also includes the rewards and pledges. The strategy RPG from the minds of such franchises as Halo, Final Fantasy, Diablo, and Crysis well surpassed its initial Kickstarter goal of 100,000, with the campaign concluding at a staggering 1.01 million. With the new pledge site launched, however, those who wish to support the title are still able to do so via PayPal. In turn, supporters will be offered the same rewards as those who jumped in during the Kickstarter campaign. And additionally, there are plans to motion for current backers of Project Phoenix to be given the option to upgrade their pledges, as well as potential store that could be launched where supporters can purchase exclusive Project Phoenix memorabilia. The release date has not been revealed yet, and you can find more on their website if you go to our site and click on the story. I don't know anything about this game. I haven't looked any of it up. Are any of you guys interested in this strategy? I tried to roll my R and it didn't work.
Epic fail.
Shut up.
Does people still say epic fail? I think that might be an epic fail on my part. I didn't know about the game at all, to be quite honest with you, and that's a shame. But when Yuki of the staff brought it to my attention, and I've since researched it rather in depth, and it looks to be really promising. The developers there at Creative Intelligence Arts, I believe is the name of the developer, they're really transparent as to what they're doing with the project. They hold Google Hangouts incrementally to let you know what they're working on and like give you guys a Q&A time. So they've been really open as to what they're working on. So I'm excited. It looks really good. And in fact, we're working right now on something to bring to you guys. So you guys can look forward to something about Project Phoenix in the near future from the Vita Lounge.
Nice. Well, let's hope they hit a home run. Speaking of home runs, let's go to Professional Baseball Spirits 2014 coming to Vita. That's where people laugh, but whatever, you guys don't like me.
Continue.
You know, I try so hard. You know, I'm put out all these jokes.
You know what, though? You know what's the best part? Before we get into it, the best part about this baseball game is there's actually a chance that who could be on first.
Fuck you, Brian.
Oh, Lord.
Go ahead and take it away, Brian, if you want to talk about it so much.
No, you were going to talk about the details of the game. I just wanted to bring up the ironic hilarity that who could be on first.
Tyler's unimpressed.
Oh, yeah.
He laughed so hard that he lost his voice. It's impressive.
All my jokes seem to be swinging. Never. Fuck it.
I
don't even care.
The motion in your head. A little mouse going around his little loop.
Another swing and a miss for me. Huh? Fuck it. I don't goddamn care. Whatever. Japanese sports simulation title Professional Baseball Spirits 2014 has received a release date of March 20th. That's my brother's birthday. According to Famitsu, their latest entry in the long-running series will feature a bevy of improvements over its predecessor, including new gameplay systems, improved graphics, and, of course, updated rosters. Furthermore, it seems that there will be an increased focus on realism with PBS... Oreo! With PBS 2014 getting a makeover in both the graphics and sound department, the latter of which is highlighted with an increase more in the frequency of commentary. PlayStation Vita owners will be given a pair of options as to how they purchase the game. The retail edition will be priced at 6,650 yen, whereas the PlayStation Network digital download will be available at the discounted rate of 6,458 yen. Professional Baseball Spirits 2014, and I already said that it's released for 20th of March, so yeah. And it's coming out on Vita, PSP, and PlayStation 3. And we have a lot of screenshots if you want to go check those out on the site. So check it out. It looks pretty cool. I like baseball games. Brian, you like baseball?
I like the baseballs. It looks really good, too. The graphics look... I know it's probably the PlayStation 3 version, but it looks good.
Yeah, and what the developers have done on the Vita version of MLB The Show, hopefully they can do a good job on... Or not, they're not the same developers, but hopefully another developer can do a similar job as how they do on MLB The Show. Yeah. Whatever.
No, that's a really good point.
Thanks, Brian.
All right.
Okay.
Let's go on to the next one.
What is the next one?
I believe it. Jokes. I think it has a 4-letter name with a slash in the middle. It might be AC/DC. I forget. Can you just lay it on me, Tyler?
It's IA/VT.
Oh, it's the Japanese version of AC/DC.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever. It's a new Vocaloid game from Kenichiro Takiki, Senran Kagura's producer, gives some screenshots to tickle your imagination. How adorable. Yeah, there's a few screenshots if you want to check them out. Is that a watermelon on a stick?
It appears to be.
Genius.
Why hasn't this been brought here if that's a thing? If that's a thing in Japan, please bring that here.
Yes, we need those now. It's brilliant.
It would be sweet, like mini watermelons on a stick, like a watermelon the size of like an orange, and then put that on a stick. That would be pretty sweet.
Or an entire watermelon in full.
Yeah, you'd need like 3 hands to carry that, and the stick would break.
Break your wrist, but it'd be worth it. So yeah, there's some screenshots. You should check them out. Also, there's a list of songs to check out. Maybe some of you may not. None of them I know. That I don't think I do. There's a lot of them. I'm not going to read them off because I struggled to last time I read off a whole bunch of song names. And yeah, let's go check them out. There are multiple posts, but yeah, pretty cool. None of us are really into the Vocaloid rhythm games, are we?
I would play them if they were over here and reasonably priced enough. It just seems like we don't get very many of them.
Yeah, I feel you. Well, what about you, Brian? You seem like you love to dance and...
Wow. So, for me, I don't mind Vocaloids. I really don't. One of my favorite experiences on the regular DS was, I think, it's called Elite Beat Agents, and I really enjoyed myself with that game. I think that's one of the pioneers of the genre, with the touchscreen at least. And I really enjoyed my time. I think, for me, enjoying these type of experiences really hinges on the fact that I need to be able to understand the music or enjoy the music myself, personally, to get involved in the game and get involved with wanting to participate. So I don't necessarily know if K-pop or J-pop is my thing, so I don't know if it would speak to me, but from a gameplay perspective, I would appreciate the design.
I read ya. Well, look for that game. More info later, sometime soon, whenever we get it. Next up, locked door puzzle planning for a pair of Vita releases. The indie developer Locked Door Puzzle are planning to bring 2 of their titles to PlayStation Vita. The 3-person studio is currently in talks with Sony to create Vita versions of the atmospheric Cairo,
Yep,
and the upcoming Journal. At this point, the developer could not officially confirm their arrival. However, they maintain that talks with Sony have been positive, and both sides are eager to see both of the games released. Less than a week ago, Locked Door Puzzle's Richard Perrin showcased 2 early images of the both Cairo and Journal on PlayStation Vita, though not in any playable form. Cairo is a first-person puzzle game that takes place in a minimalist world. Players are given no overarching narrative, and most come to their own conclusion based upon the oh my gosh, I need to just relax. Imagery found in the environment. Cairo was released for PC in October of 2012, but soon after found its way onto a number of other platforms, including iOS. The not-yet-released Journal, on the other hand, takes players into a hand-painted journey of a troubled girl who must come to terms with the increasingly mature choices asked of her and the consequences that follow. As opposed to Cairo, it is much more focused on narrative rather than exploration. Journal is scheduled for an early 2014 launch on PC, Macs, and Linux. And there's some trailers below in the story if you want to go check them out, if any of those games interest you. And yeah. They look quite interesting. Are you guys interested in these puzzle games?
Well, I spoke directly to Richard about these titles, and he seems pretty optimistic that both will make their way to Vita, though he just couldn't officially confirm. Cairo looks interesting. It's a little... I enjoy the minimalist aesthetic, though it reminds me of a little bit of a Myst in a way. but I'm really excited for Journal. It looks like it'll be a really interesting type of game that I'm really into. It'll have the emotions and maybe have a message that will speak to me personally.
Fascinating.
Kyle,
you seem quiet lately. Is everything okay over there?
Yeah, I'm good. Just, I don't speak much when I'm not so interested in the game. So, if you notice me being quiet, that's probably why.
Well, you should probably get a game that has 30-player online, and maybe that would help get interested.
No. Nah.
Well, when I'm having fun with that game and having a good old laughable time, like, and everyone's
probably playing Killzone Shadowfall with like 30 people and laughing at you. So there we go.
Well, okay, hold on. Okay, in all seriousness, it is kind of nice to see a Vita game that is getting more than 4-on-4, isn't it?
It is, however, with it being so simplistic, I can see why they could do that.
How do you know it's so simplistic, Kyle?
yeah, I was about to say the same thing.
Well, if you're driving around in a tank, you're probably not going to be jumping, so they don't have to track like height metrics. There's like a whole bunch of things that they wouldn't have to track, and they would be tracking slower because you're moving in a tank compared to somebody running around and changing locations very quickly.
I'm going to have to disagree with you so much right now. What about bullet? What if they do like bullet drop, like Battlefield, where your rocket like drops as you shoot, so you have to take into account bullet drop. There's hills and big open map.
There's always physics.
Tyler, you're really into Worms, right?
Yeah.
And Kyle, you're not into Worms at all.
Correct.
Right? So these are games. Worms, bear with me. Worms isn't a tank game by any stretch of the imagination, but the mechanics in Worms with the arc that you have to shoot with, it's a little bit more strategic. They're very similar in nature. So I could see why you guys would be very polarized on this particular game.
One of these days, Kyle. One of these days. Anyways. What were we talking about? The puzzle games? Yeah, we're talking about the puzzle games. Alright, well that's about all I got for that, so look for more on those games. Hopefully they make their way to the Vita. Next up, Over My Dead Body 2, new information. During an interview between Shoji Mizuta and 4Game, the director said that the fans wanted to see a closer hereditary resemblance in the characters, and this is apparently something they've achieved, according to Famitsu. The game includes character customization options that will allow you to either take a picture of yourself to create the first head of the family, editing to your liking, of course, or making one up from scratch. The characteristics appearance will then be passed on to the children that follow. You may also choose one of the 8 available job classes, including swordsmen and archers. They will vary in clothing according to the theme color that was chosen by the first head of the family. So, I don't know anything about this game other than what I just read.
Yeah, I'm not very well versed in it either. Pretty much what I know is what I read from the Vita Lounge, and I don't think they go into very much more detail than what you've got there and the type of game that it is. So,
yeah. What about you, Brian? He just posted in the Skype chat that he has to go to the bathroom, so I thought I'd call him out. Yeah, he's probably... Just think about it, guys. He's peeing right now.
Yeah, we don't want to think about that. How about we talk about how Yuki says that Over My Dead Body 2 could come to the West, as Xseed was interested in the first one, and furthermore, Shuhei Yoshida tweeted that it would break his heart if it wouldn't come here, so...
Ooh. Do you, Yuki, do you know, like, what the combat style is? Like, if you could tell me a game that it's like, what would you say? Because if it's a game that... Oh, okay.
No idea.
Yuki, you're supposed to be so helpful here. I mean, this is why you're here. Well...
It's rather obscure, he says.
Yeah, I'm looking at the screenshots, and it looks like you can run around like a normal map. Like, free roam kind of, and then they have like a battle system, like kind of like Final Fantasy is what it kind of looks like. But I don't know.
So just a really weird RPG or something like that, maybe.
How was your pee, Brian?
Really good.
No.
I hope you cut that out of the podcast, you bastard. Too much tea. That was the problem.
Well, mistake number one.
Yeah.
Anywho, do you know anything about this game, Brian? Like what it plays?
Only what's been posted. You guys for sure know more than I do on this one.
So it looks like we all know nothing about this game. So if you know something about this game that we don't, definitely let us know. Maybe email us at podcast@thevitalounge.net what game it reminds you of, or you think it's closely related to. But let's head on to the next bit of news. Bodycheck announced for PlayStation Vita. Scottish developer Ludometrics announced today that they are developing a game called Bodycheck. It's a football-inspired title exclusively for PlayStation Vita. And Brian had a little bit more about this. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, Ludometrics and I are working on something really special for you guys. Prior to the game's announcement on the PlayStation blog, we had been looking for a way to give you guys a little bit more information about this game. We hear a lot of demand for sports games here at the Vita Lounge, and they seem to be answering that call. It's a game that's based off of football's history, and by football I mean European football, in which there were 100 men on one field, each for different teams, all fighting for the ball and each trying to throw it into the net. It's a little bit more rough and a little bit more ferocious than the football that you know today. And they're looking to bring some of that back. I think I state in the news article that it's a little bit more NFL Blitz than it is Madden, so you're looking for more of an arcade experience. But over the next 6 months or so, we'll be having a bunch of previews for the game. So we're going to be talking in depth with Ludometrics about the design, the creation, this audio, everything you want to know about the game we'll be coming up with. And one of the things that I think everybody will like about the game is that it's online as well. They've heeded that call for online sports games, and they're looking to answer it. So I'm excited for it. It looks really cool, and it has a lot of fun built into it, which is something I think is missing from a lot of sports simulation games now.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting looking, and I will keep my eye on it for sure. And from the lack of talking of Kyle, I feel like it's not something that tickles his fancy.
It's something I'm going to wait and see about. Different football games kind of catch me differently, and I'm kind of interested to see what they do with it, but if it's not something I recognize as far as gameplay or it doesn't look fun, I might not play it, but I'm really kind of not sure on the fence at this point. So
I gotcha.
Well, you'll be able to make an educated decision over the next little while from what we post. So,
all right. Well, yeah. Look for more on that on the VitaLounge.net when it becomes available. Up next, Unity support arrives on PlayStation Vita. So, after just recently requesting PlayStation Mobile developers to send in their support for the powerful development tool, Unity has officially launched for PlayStation Vita. As of today, Unity developers who tote a licensed developer agreement from Sony Computer Entertainment are now able to set up their games for Sony's handheld. Using Unity, developers will also be given the opportunity to make use of the PlayStation Vita's unique inputs, such as motion sensors, dual analog sticks, front and rear cameras, and more. Additionally, the tool will also offer the ability to integrate services associated with the PlayStation brand. These include multiplayer matchmaking, friends, and even trophies. Unity also revealed that the recently released adventure game Stick It to the Man by Swedish studio Zoink was Unity-based and served as a trial run for the PlayStation Vita version of the game. Unity announced their partnership with Sony in March of 2013, and now in just under a year it appears to have come to fruition. So yeah, that's awesome news. Having this ability to use Unity, or having it supported. So yeah, hopefully we see a ton more games using it.
Yeah, I just want to chime in really quickly. You guys might have seen, if you guys have visited the site recently, I did an interview with the guys who make Assault Android Cactus. So I spoke with Sanatana Mishra. Sorry if I mispronounced your name, my friend. We spoke briefly about his game, and he said it would not be possible if Sony and PlayStation were not supporting Unity, and that those words were echoed by Jamie Freestholm. Again, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Who also said that Unity was the very being of his game on PlayStation Vita. There would be no other way for it to happen. And I've also spoken to a lot of other developers who are now knocking on Sony's door and being welcomed in because of the Unity engine. So this is huge. I'm not sure everybody really recognizes how big of a deal this is for the PlayStation platform, but it's going to make a lot of games appear on your handheld, so you should be really happy about this.
Nice. Yeah, I'm definitely happy about this. Also, I'm not sure. I'm just kind of guessing, but isn't Forgotten Memories based off Unity?
I believe so. I cannot confirm that, but I will confirm that.
All right. Yeah, I'm really excited for that game, and I'm pretty sure it's based off Unity. So that's another great game that is coming because of this, hopefully. Which, yeah. Anyways, good news. Unity support. Yeah.
Yay.
Next up, Unsung Story. Vita stretch goal added. Unsung Story, Tale of the Guardians is a spiritual successor to a storied line of tactical RPGs designed by Yasumi Matsuno, a man who some believe to be the greatest tactics game designer in the world. With a goal of 600,000 and a PS Vita stretch goal of 1.8 million, which still isn't bad considering the 3DS stretch goal is 2.8 million. It's no small feat getting this one on our beloved handheld. So yeah, that's pretty good. I've looked at the Kickstarter, and I don't know if it's something that I'm interested in, but the fact that they're putting that as a stretch goal is always nice to see that they're taking note of the PlayStation Vita as a platform. So yeah, and Kyle posted this story. So Kyle, do you know more about this?
I don't know too much more about it, but I just like to say that I like that they're actually including Vita, and I like that it's a lower goal than the 3DS as well. But I wish they would really consider Vita as one of their first goals, like their initial goals, because it seems like a lot of developers are just putting out these lofty, get $1 million and I guess we'll port it to Vita kind of goals out there, and it seems like, especially with the way the new engines are going and the fact that a lot of people by now have had experience with the Vita, you would think that they would be going there first or for cheaper. But I guess we get what we get, and I'm glad that we got anything at all.
Yeah, that's true. Brian, are you into tactical RPGs?
I wouldn't say they're my genre of preference, but I'm like anything else, I'm open to it. But I'm not too familiar with this game, maybe perhaps because it's a little unsung compared to most.
Oh, he brought it back.
But I know it's from some storied developers out there. That one didn't go as well.
It was good, but I think if I didn't interrupt you with me laughing, it would have been even better.
All right. So, no, I'll look into it. I want to see how this thing develops, but I completely agree with Kyle. I'd like to see some more developers aiming towards Vita from the start, but again, you have to, beggars can't be choosers, as they say, right? So.
Right. Righto. All right, well, next up, actually not our last bit of news. We got two more. Next up is Puyo, is that right? Puyo. Puyo Puyo Tetris features cross-platform multiplayer. The crossover puzzle game Puyo... Oh, gosh. That game, the Tetris game, will fittingly allow users to play against one another across multiple devices. According to Siliconera, whether you or your opponent play on PlayStation Vita, PlayStation 3, or PlayStation 3, you'll be able to challenge one another on the PlayStation Network. I have to say it again. Puyo Puyo Tetris merges two of the gaming's most popular puzzle games and even allows players to battle each other using mechanics from both franchises via the swap mode. It's set to release on PlayStation Vita, PlayStation 3, Wii U, and 3DS on February 6, 2014 in Japan. I don't really care for Tetris or these types of games, so for me it's not something I care about, but are you guys into these types of games?
Yeah, I would definitely buy it if it was over here and reasonably priced, but it seems that at this point they don't have any plans to bring it over here, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a huge Tetris fan. I really like these kind of puzzle games. It's kind of in my DNA from being Eastern European that you kind of have to like Tetris. But Puyo Puyo, I'm not all that familiar with. But the way they're mixing these two genres, that I understand Puyo Puyo is very successful in Japan. The way they're mixing the two looks really interesting, and I wish it would come here. But unfortunately, no news yet.
Well, next bit of news, probably one of the most interesting bits, is 2K incorrectly tweets Borderlands 2 release date and later retracts that tweet. The tweet originally was hashtag Borderlands 2 is coming to hashtag PlayStation Vita on March 18th. Retweet! Then, however, the tweet was promptly deleted, leaving only the image located above. The quick removal of the post left many questions to the legitimacy of the information in the post, something 2K themselves would later address, and this is what they said. We apologize for a tweet about a release date for Borderlands 2 on Vita, which was posted in error. The release date mentioned is incorrect. Details regarding Borderlands 2 for the PlayStation Vita have been sparse since its debut at Gamescom, with very little being truly known about the current state of the project. In December of last year, Iron Galaxy Studios, the developers responsible for the port, confirmed that they had begun work on the title but did not divulge info as to the state of the game itself. So this is interesting, because wasn't there a post on a store website? I think it might have been Amazon.
Yep. Read up a little bit, right above the first tweet.
I see that.
So yeah, what happened was Newegg said that it would be coming out on March 18th, and surprise, March 18th, we're getting news of a game coming out, of Borderlands coming out on Vita from 2K themselves, but apparently incorrectly. I believe, on a side note, I'm going to go really off topic, and this is something that struck me as that might be the perfect time for Borderlands 2. As we all know, we heard earlier on in this podcast, PlayStation Now will be hitting North America shortly in the summer, and I'm not sure of the launch lineup for PlayStation Now, but I would suspect that Borderlands 2 has a good chance of being in that lineup, and maybe it might have some of their market eaten up by the summertime.
Yeah, maybe.
I just think it's kind of suspicious. First of all, it's 2K that posted it and not Iron Galaxy, who's actually, doing the port and would know how far along they are. A little bit better than 2K, maybe. Also, the fact that it's a date that's already been mentioned is kind of funny as well. So even though they've, posted it and retracted it, maybe we might see it around that date anyway, just because this kind of seems suspicious.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, it could have just been some random person that was on there and like, oh, they have a release date. Let me post this real quick, and then realize that, wait a minute, we haven't even made an official announcement. What am I doing? So, I mean, it could just all be a bunch of baloney, but it is looking very suspicious. So, hopefully we find out news soon about what's going on, because like in the post or in the news story, we haven't really got any news about it since Gamescom, and a lot of people kind of want to know what's going on. So yeah, that ends our news for this week.
Ooh, what a week.
What a week indeed. Alright, so now that the news is done, I'm going to send it over to our interview with John Ribbons from Roll 7. So take a listen to what we talked about. Here with us, John Ribbons, the creative director of Roll 7, joining us to talk a bit about his new game, OlliOlli, which actually comes out today. So how's it going, John?
Hey, how you doing, guys?
So we have a few questions we're going to interrogate you like you were just saying earlier. First, I'd like to ask a bit about, what do you do personally? What's your job?
Okay, so it kind of depends what the game is that we're working on. But for the most part, I'll kind of like have like an idea and build a little prototype of it. Like I use Multimedia Fusion, which is like quite an old, like drag and drop, no coding kind of game making tool. So like most of the stuff we're doing is like originally prototyped in that. And then kind of with stuff like OlliOlli, we then moved on and started building it in C++ and the Sony SDK. So then it was sort of working with the rest of the team, people, the coders and the artists and so on, to like bring OlliOlli together. But yeah, with OlliOlli, like it was very much like I sort of ended up learning C++ last year, or a smattering of C++ last year, so I could kind of actually work on the game and tweak stuff and be testing it on my own Vita as well.
Interesting.
So it's a bit of everything, I guess. A bit of like doing a bit of concept stuff and then some coding and some like art bits as well.
So you're a busy man.
Yes. Yeah, immensely.
All right. For those that don't know, who is Roll7? Like, what have you guys worked on? How would they know you, not knowing OlliOlli?
You probably wouldn't. So we started in sort of 2008. And we did quite a lot of sort of gun for hire stuff. So we did games for other people, and that was usually kind of like socially responsible games or like educational games and things like that. And like obviously we'd always like wanted to be making our own stuff. And then sort of in 2012 we did an iOS game called Gets to the Exit, which was like a puzzle platforming thing, and that was like the first thing that we did. There was our own IP that we kind of got out there, and that kind of did okay, and it got some good feedback. Some good feedback. Yeah, and then from there, like we kind of went back to doing gun for hire stuff in like the rest of 2012, and we'd kind of been cooking up this like skateboarding prototype in evenings and things like that. And then it was getting to meet Shahid at Sony and show him that prototype, and him sort of be like, "Do you want to bring this to Vita?" We were like, "Yeah, that sounds great."
Yeah, so speaking of talking to Shahid, this game was once an iOS game. What made you guys want to bring it to the Vita?
I think like maybe actually like to say it was an iOS game, I'm not saying that's wrong necessarily. Like we kind of had the idea for doing this skateboarding game, and like having it on iOS seemed like a really nice way to be able to kind of take it out and show it to people. So it was like the very, very first one was built for PC, but obviously, you know, you're carrying a laptop around then if you're like trying to demonstrate it to people.
Right.
And kind of like the simple version of the game was literally like tap to jump and then tap to land. There were no tricks on the iOS one. So that kind of just worked quite nicely on the screen, right? You just tap the left side of the screen to jump, and you tap the right side of the screen to land. So really, like transferring it over to the Vita was quite nice, because then we had these like physical controls, and it was like, right, now we can do tricks and stuff in there as well.
Yeah, it works really nice. I love the controls, by the way.
Oh, good. No, I've seen it's like a bit Marmite. I think people are either like, you know, the controls were great, or they're like, I hated the controls, I couldn't even do a trick.
Well, yeah, when I first started playing it, I was so confused, but then I was like, all right, I'm starting to get it, and then I was like, this is awesome, I got it, this is easy, and then it just gets so crazy, and it's amazing, so.
Oh, good. We had like one guy that came in, so we did a load of testing. There's a thing called Train to Game, which is like people who are trying to get into the industry, and they're sort of coming in doing QA or like user testing and stuff like that. And we had this one guy who was like, yeah, I really like the controls, it's just that it's sort of like unlearning 10 years of skateboarding game history, because it doesn't play like you expect. Like you expect it to be Tony Hawk or Skate, and it's not that, and it's really weird for like the first 5 minutes.
Yeah. I don't know if we really answered this in the previous question, but the next question I got is how was the process of switching platforms?
What, from doing iOS stuff to doing Vita? Yeah. So, like, actually, our senior programmer Nikos, his expertise is really in C++ more than in like our iOS game. We actually did it in ActionScript 3, and then used Adobe Air to put it onto iOS. And I think if he was honest, he'd say he really hates ActionScript 3, and he was like itching to be doing C++ stuff. So I think for him, like actually making that switch was favourable. It wasn't scary.
That's good.
I think he'd been dying to make a C++ game for a while.
Nice.
Right,
but yeah, I mean, other than that, like actually working on the platform was super easy. Like it didn't take us that long to sort of, okay, It didn't take us that long to like set up our dev kits and like have stuff running and be working things out. It did take us quite a long time to actually draw something on the screen. But we didn't use any middleware. Like we tried to build everything kind of from the ground up. So we had an interesting time at the start of being like, there was a very exciting day about 2 months in when we managed to draw 1 pixel in the left-hand corner of the screen of the Vita.
That's interesting.
All right, well, I guess I'll jump in there. I was actually wondering if you could add one more thing to the game, like nowhere it just appears there like magic, what would it be?
I read this question when you sent this through, and I can't decide between two things because I think they're quite different, right? So I'm going to say two because one's kind of an in-game thing, and the other one's kind of just a meta game thing, right? So if I could add one thing to the actual gameplay, it would be manuals. I don't know if you remember in Tony Hawk, like manuals when you balance on the back wheels or balance on the front wheels, and you could kind of keep your combo going on the flat ground.
That would be cool.
Like that, quite a few people have played it and gone like, why can't I manual? And we were like it was just obviously, you know, the levels are quite sort of, I like to hope, are like quite tightly designed for the combos. So when we kind of thought about throwing manuals in later, it's like, well, it's going to be a lot of rebalancing work in the levels to make sure that the manuals work in between the combo sections and things like that. But yeah, from a gameplay side, if it was no work and it just happened like magic, then yeah, totally throw manuals in there. And I guess from the other side, and this is like actually from quite a lot of feedback we've seen, and it was just one thing that we kind of ran out of time to do as well as we wanted to do it, so we had to cut it. But that would be like more opportunity just to compete with your friends on scores instead of like just the world.
So like a friend leaderboard?
Yeah. Or like, and you know, being able to cuss your friends and be like, ha, I just beat your score, man, what are you going to do about it?
that would be a good addition.
Yeah, I think that's like, because like that's what we've been doing, I guess, in the office to each other, and it would be nice if we could have got it in there, but...
So speaking of records and, you know, beating each other's scores, I assume you have a copy of the game. Do you hold any records for any spots?
So I do, but my account is a dev account, so it doesn't show up on the same scoreboards. Which obviously means I can just totally make it up and be like, yeah, I've got the highest scores and everything. But
Screenshot.
Okay, so I do. No screenshot, no proof. So, like our like senior QA guy, Sam, basically holds the record for the highest score ever. I think he got 6 million on one of the Neon levels.
Oh wow!
But like when we did rad mode, which is the mode where you've got to beat every single level perfect, we reached a point where we realized, you know, we actually needed to test all the levels were still possible in rad mode. So I did spend something like 20-something hours over 2 days making sure that you could beat every single level on rad. So I've beaten every level with 100% perfect landings and perfect grinds, so I think I've got some good scores there.
Nice.
But we're going to... we thought we'd give everyone a bit of time before we like played.
Yeah.
Give everyone a bit of time to practice on the spots. We might jump back on that later. Urban 1 is my favourite, by the way. Like, I think there was a question you were saying about stages, which we'll come on to, but in terms of high score battles, Urban 1 spot is my favourite. A really short one with like 6 obstacles.
We'll keep that in mind.
It's the hardest one to get a high score on.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you've got to be the most precise on that one to get an amazing score.
Yeah.
Also, speaking of scores and the daily grind, how long will you guys be supporting the daily grind? And outside of the daily grind, is downloadable content something you at Roll 7 are considering moving forward?
So in terms of supporting daily grind, there's quite a lot. I can't remember the exact number of daily grind spots, but they're on a loop. So eventually it'll loop back to the start again, and it will repeat those levels. So it should go on, fingers crossed, as long as it's up on the store, but please don't hold me to that, just in case anything goes horribly wrong later on. So yeah, I mean, that one's should be there as long as, you know, people are playing it. There'll be daily grinds to challenge people on. In terms of DLC, sort of kind of hush-hush, I guess, but if I say, like, there's going to be more OlliOlli in the future, for definite. Can I leave it at that?
That works.
So a little bit of an easier question for you to answer. OlliOlli isn't necessarily what we would call a traditional skateboard game that we've been introduced to from the likes of Tony Hawk and Skate. Who do you think are the audience for a game like OlliOlli?
That's a really interesting question. Because I kind of get it. Because it's almost not skateboarding. Skateboarding is just this thing that's there as kind of a tool for the combo system, really. So I guess kind of if you're into, I don't know what you guys think. Like you've played it, like hard games, I guess. Like, was it hard?
Yeah, it gets difficult.
It was hard at the start, and there's definitely a learning curve there. So once you get to the end of the levels, you're doing pretty good. But at the start, there's definitely some struggling.
Yeah. So I guess people that want kind of like a challenge, like that don't necessarily want their hand held through the whole game. And I think with the kind of combo system, maybe like if you're almost like if you enjoy stuff like fighting games where you've got to be really very precise and kind of work out the best sequences of things to do in any given situation. I think if you kind of like games maybe where there's kind of a mastery, like you can get the controls quite quickly, but there's like a level above that once you understand it. I think it might appeal, hopefully.
I also want to ask that there's a lot of titles on the market now that are drawing from ideas such as daily challenges. It became a really popular draw for the game Spelunky. We've seen it ported to the Vita version as well, and that's been a huge update for everybody. Was the daily grind always something you wanted to pursue?
It wasn't initially. Like Spots was kind of going to be that mode, and it kind of almost came out of like playing Spots in the office when we were testing levels, and just having this thing of being like, not only battling on scores, but being like, all right, okay, you've got like one try. Someone would play a level and they'd be like, right, this is my run, I'm going to get this score, and then they'd try, and then you'd do the same thing, and you'd see if you could beat it in one attempt. And it's like, actually, that's a really fun way to play the Spots, that you've got this limited number of attempts at the thing. But I think it also came from the fact that, like, obviously we're still quite a small indie, and like this is our first title, and so when we were trying to think about multiplayer stuff, like synchronous multiplayer, didn't seem like a bad idea, but there's always the chance that there aren't going to be people online at the same time as you ready to play. So I think we kind of wanted an asynchronous mode that meant like you could be playing against other people even if it wasn't in real time, but also that like it refreshes every day, and there's quite a high chance. I mean, I guess this is standard for any kind of daily challenge, but like it's refreshing every day, so there's still quite a high chance that you could win or at least do quite well at it. There's a lot of opportunities to win. It's not like this thing that just tops out and then someone's had the best score and it's over. There's no point in playing it anymore if you buy it 6 months in or something like that.
Yeah. We touched on it a little bit earlier about the fact that OlliOlli isn't necessarily a traditional skateboarding game. So outside of the skateboarding games that people are used to, what games did you draw inspiration from for the game?
Interesting. So I guess, and like these are sort of lofty people to sort of say you were trying to emulate them, because I think these are obviously like examples of like really exemplary stuff like that. But I loved Super Meat Boy. I loved how challenging Super Meat Boy was, especially in that kind of you're dying a lot, but you kind of feel okay about it because every time you get that little bit further and you feel like, oh, I beat that bit and now I'm going to get this bit, and so on and so on. And I think that was something we kind of wanted to do with OlliOlli as well, was have that like, okay, just one more try, and then it's like 4 a.m. and you're still going, just one more try, just one try.
I did that so hard, like 6 hours the one night, and I look up and I'm like, oh, I was just going to play for like 20 minutes. So it's definitely addictive like that.
Oh, excellent. Mission accomplished. So yeah, I think like, so sort of Super Meat Boy, and I guess like more recently, and it sort of came out while we were working on it, but like Hotline Miami's got that same kind of vibe of like, if you died, it was your fault for being stupid. It wasn't like the game's fault, I guess. I'm not sure if we were necessarily influenced by like Infinite Runners, but I do really enjoy stuff like Bit Trip and Cannibal, are obviously things that I've thought are really cool. But I guess kind of like the whole Infinite Runner thing, the whole like having this like constantly scrolling level, wasn't necessarily influenced by those things. It was maybe more just that's a really good way of setting it up. Like we thought about, at one point whether maybe you can go backwards through the level as well. Like you don't necessarily have to keep going forwards, like how that was going to work. But yeah, with that 2D perspective, it seems to make sense that you're always constantly being forced to go forwards.
So you already kind of answered this question, but I'll give you a little bit more time to elaborate on it. What was your favorite area of the 5 in the game?
So I guess like in terms of for playing on, urban, weirdly, even though they're like the simplest levels, because there's something I think that's quite nice when you kind of got a lot better to go back to the urban ones, which give you way less opportunity for combos and like trying to get really good scores on those. I think it's kind of fun. But I guess just in terms of like how development went, I think I'm most happy with the port levels, the kind of mid-section ones. Just because we struggled with that one the most, like the art assets didn't work for a long time, and like we really struggled with the backgrounds being too detailed in that level. We had loads more ship masts before coming up behind and stuff like that, and it just like was impossible to play. It was visually too crazy. But yeah, I was just really pleased with how it came out. Like the little waves on the water in the background, I think that went in at like 4 a.m. on the day of a deadline to send stuff to Sony, and it was just like, yay, we've got little waves. So I think that's kind of become like my favorite level, because I hated how it looked for so long, and then it worked out.
So I wanted to also ask, back in November, you announced that you'd be delaying OlliOlli due to some technical problems. I wanted to know, what were those moments like? You're facing that adversity. You have to make that announcement to a bunch of people who are awaiting your game. What's going through your mind at that moment?
Oh wow, okay. So I guess it's in part it kind of sucks, because like it's been really nice that we've had, you know, people who've supported us and who've been like tweeting us and encouraging us and things like that, which has been really awesome. So it obviously feels really bad to let people down when you're like, it's coming out by the end of the year, and then you know you have to be like, okay, actually it's not going to come out by the end of the year. But at the same time, you know, like in our heads it was always like, well, we don't want to deliver something broken, right? We want to deliver something that's a good experience. And you know, it was our first time building for console. It's our first time building for like this platform. So we were kind of learning the entire time that we were making it. And there was a lot of stuff that we'd never even sort of seen before. So yeah, there was stuff that we like went, this is going to be super easy, and then when we actually got involved in it, we're like, okay, this is actually really quite complicated. But I think it turned out fine. Like the issues you had were actually like mainly with daily grind stuff. Like we're obviously using PlayStation Network's high scores. Like we're not using our own servers to do the high scores and stuff like that. And although they're really good, I don't think they were like originally set up to do something like a daily challenge. So there was kind of a bit of a mind-bending phase of trying to work out how on earth we could do a daily score that updated every single day and like went in a loop and so whatever. But we got there in the end.
Yeah, so we'll go on from a positive note from there. You've had actually an overwhelming positive response from the community, and I was wondering, what is it like to be an indie developer releasing your first game and have an outcry of positive energy from your fan base?
Putting shortly, like, it's awesome. Like, I can honestly say, like, I expected nowhere near the amount of love that was on Twitter today. It actually felt super good, so thank you to everybody, basically, that either, like, reviewed us or played it or got involved or tweeted us and said hello or anything like that, or whoever came and played it, because, yeah, I tweeted earlier saying, like, this has been the best day in all the time I've made games. This has been the best day for me. So yeah, it's been super nice, and it's been really awesome that people have like got behind it and like been interested in it and wanted to play it. It's been amazing for us.
Well, you guys deserve it. It's an awesome game.
Oh, thank you.
Was that all the questions you had, Brian?
Yeah, he answered everything.
I actually thought of two questions while we've been talking.
Sure thing.
One of them is, I don't remember what level it is, but there's a level when you get to the crowd and there's a guy's head in there. And it's not like... I want to know who that is. Who is that?
That's Nikos. That's the senior programmer.
Okay. Interesting.
So there's a bunch of those, actually. I think most of the people on the team have got their face or their name somewhere in the game. And there's a bunch of other little references that like hidden around. But yeah, there's actually 3 of him as well. We didn't realize it would do that, but it duplicates the crowd. So there's originally just going to be 1 of his head, but there's actually 3, and it looks a bit weird. There's like this sinister guy with a massive head.
Yeah, I think I was going through like an awesome combo, and I land, and I get to the crowd. I'm like, all right, wait a minute, what's that? But it made me laugh.
Yeah, we were going to try and draw his face as pixel art, and it was like, no, I think it's funnier if we just take a photograph and minimize it and stick it in there.
It works. Another question I had was, the Vita has some unique features, and I was curious if you guys saw yourselves trying to use any of them, because obviously I think all there is touch, front touch, but were you guys trying to add like back touch or any of the tilt options or anything like that?
Like when we started out, we played around with like quite a lot of different sort of crazy ideas. Like originally you were going to do a grind by like pinching the screen, so pinching the front and the back, and then like depending what angle your fingers were on when you pinched it, you could like change what grind it would do and stuff like that. But almost like the more that we built the levels and the more that we kind of built up the complexity and the combos and like how long the levels went on, the more it just became apparent that you needed to be able to do stuff really quickly. And that little analog stick just worked for that. But yeah, I mean, like all the stuff on the device is really interesting, and it's stuff that I'd like to explore, and I think we'd like to explore in other stuff and other projects. But at least for OlliOlli, it seemed to work, just having that one analog stick and the X button and limiting it to that. I remember actually when we did our first playable, so when we had our first version that you could like skate along, we took it to Sony. We'd actually had jump was on X and land was on square and push was on triangle, and like basically every action was on a different button. And like the guy that was playing it there was just like, I can't play this, there's too many buttons. Like my brain, like I jump in the air and I just don't know what to press. Like my thumb just like mashes all of the face buttons and you have to fix this. And so we kind of went away and we're like, okay, right, what can we do? And we're like, well, I'm pretty sure we could get this down to just one thing for each thumb to have to do. So you're just like, you get rid of that kind of thinking overhead on that bit of the game, if you know what I mean. Like you're not trying to think about what your thumbs are doing anymore, because there's only one thing they should be doing at any time instead of like six.
Right. Yeah, my mind was blown when I realized you could use left trigger or right trigger to do a different grind. Because I didn't know that at first. I was just doing all the regular grinds. I was like, all right, maybe that's all the tricks there is. And then I went to the Trictionary. Nice name, by the way. And
that wasn't me. That was our artist, Harry. Like, all credit to Harry for the Trictionary.
Well, good thinking, Harry. But yeah, then I saw that and I was like, whoa, here we go.
Were you one of those people that tweeted being like, I just discovered the shoulder buttons and now my scores are like twice as big? Because I think there was a fair number of people that discovered that and then were like, oh my god, now my scores are amazing.
I don't think I tweeted about it, but I did have that moment. I think Brian had another question for you.
Yeah, I've been noticing, I think me and Tyler experienced it as well. No game's perfect when it first arrives, and there's been a couple of bugs in OlliOlli to start. And I believe you've mentioned it on Twitter that you'd be working on a patch. I just want to give you a chance to explain where you are in that situation and how you'll be approaching it.
Sure. So we actually had some people in from Sony as well to look at the code the other day, and we've now pretty much worked out what's up with it, and we're like working to fix that and patch it as soon as possible.
Okay. They were minor. It's just things that I think the community would be interested in here.
Sure. No, it's definitely like we don't want anything out there with stuff that kind of like spoils the experience. So yeah, our priority at the moment is fixing that and getting that update out.
Speaking of bugs, I just wanted to ask if this one experience I went through is a bug, or if you guys were just faking me out a little.
It's a feature. It's definitely a feature.
I can't remember what level it was, but it was, I believe, either in the third or fourth world. There's a place where you actually go right by the crowd at the end of the game, and I was like, what the hell is going on? Because I didn't think, you're supposed to be able to go by them without, the end of the level occurring, but I just rolled right by them and did another trick. Is that a feature or is that a bug?
Did you keep going?
Not very far. I think they were still a little bit on the screen very far left when the level ended, because I got another trick in and landed it perfect and then it ended. But they were all the way far left instead of usually being right by them or before them even.
Sure. Okay, so like without wanting to give too much away, like in some levels you can jump over the crowd. And initially we didn't realize you could do that. And then when someone did that, we kind of thought about maybe what we could do with that. So that achievement for finding the 5 golden boards, let's just leave it at that. There's 5 golden boards hidden in the game, and you may have just sort of discovered the beginning of how to get a hold of those.
Hint, hint.
Hint, hint. Yeah.
Yuki, actually the guy that's doing the recording, asked a question, and he wants to know what your favorite Vita game is, besides OlliOlli, of course. If you have any.
I guess it's kind of between two, and they're both games that I've actually played on other stuff and then played on Vita and like almost loved them more on that platform. So one, and I know it's the obvious choice, but it's Spelunky because it's just amazing.
Yes.
It's a great game.
Yeah.
It's a great game, and like just having it on a portable it's almost like where it was supposed to be. I kind of feel like it was awesome I had it on Steam. It's awesome on Steam, and I've had it on Xbox, and it was awesome on that. But like on the Vita, it just works so nicely. So that, and like Hotline Miami as well. Like I had it on PC and then playing it on twin sticks on the Vita. Like again, it's just like, oh, this was the experience I wanted from this game. So yeah, those two I think at the moment.
Very nice. I think that's all the questions we got. But is there anything else you'd like to add that maybe you'd like to talk about more?
Ooh, I guess just to say thank you to everyone that's like reviewed and or like retweeted or said hi or given us support over the last year. It's been awesome. It's very nice to finally have it out there, and I really hope that if you get it, you really enjoy it and have a good time.
Well, I'd like to thank you so much for giving your day to talk to us.
Oh no, dude! Thanks very much for having me on. It's been lovely.
Yeah, we hope the best for OlliOlli and Roll 7 in the future.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, there's more to come.
Ooh. I've actually convinced one of my friends to buy the game already because we work together, and he was watching me play that, and he's like, "Well, what is that? What is that?" And I was like, "Oh, it's OlliOlli." And he's like, "Oh, I'm buying it right now." I was like, "You can't. It's not out yet." And he's like, "Ah!" So he's gonna be buying
rubbing
it
your press copy in his face.
Exactly.
Excellent.
So
it's good to know we've got at least one person getting it today.
I feel like you have much more than just one. So
Yeah.
once again, thank you so much.
Cheers. Thanks very much, guys. Thanks for being on.
We'll talk to you later. So that was our interview with John. I hope you enjoyed it. Also, be sure to go check out OlliOlli, which is an awesome game, as you probably realized from our discussion. Next up, we have listener mail with Kyle. What do we got, Kyle?
All right, well, this week, Kevin Cruz has sent us in a question. He says, I'm a Ratchet and Clank fan and of many other Sony franchises, but I feel that those past franchises are not having attention from Sony to get a Vita release. I really want to see Ratchet and Clank and Infamous and see how the controls would work on those games. What PlayStation games from the past would you like to see revived on new PlayStation consoles, and how would they play on Vita?
Well, I would love for them to make... This is just a childhood game that I loved so much when I was younger, so I mean, if you were older than me and you played this game, you might not like it, but I loved it. But they should bring back Croc. That game was awesome. I loved it. Just leave me alone. It's adorable.
What a crock.
Oh, Lord.
Anyways, that's my answer.
For me, he hit it right on the head. I'm a huge Infamous fan. I'm a big fan of Sucker Punch. I like what they do, and I think that the Vita's inputs could lend themselves perfectly to an Infamous game. Maybe not going in the same direction as Second Son on PlayStation 4, maybe continuing or doing a side story for Cole McGrath from the original Infamous. They could use all sorts of his powers and use the touchscreen, rear touch, all sorts of stuff, even the gyro mechanics, everything. And you could really have a solid game there. And we've seen before the dual analog sticks work fine for third-person games. So I'd like to see Infamous.
Nice.
Yeah, I would like to see EA pull Mirror's Edge out for Vita. I know it's probably never going to happen, and I know that it's probably something that might be a little harder to pull off on Vita just because of how immersive the original was, but I would definitely welcome a Mirror's Edge on Vita, and I would probably play that more than anything else. So if you're listening, EA, get the hell on it.
Yuki says Wild Arms. I don't know anything about the game, but he just said he wants Wild Arms. So if you
it was actually given as a PlayStation 1 classic not long ago, free. So I know a little bit about it. I believe it's a very old RPG. I could be wrong, but it's set like cowboy-ish, like Western. If I'm not mistaken for some reason, or am remembering wrong.
Gotcha. Well, did he... Wait. Yeah. We're good. We got some good choices there. I would love to see an Infamous game for sure. But yeah, do we have any more questions, Kyle?
No, that's it for mail.
Yeah. Thank you for emailing us. Be sure to email us more questions at podcast@thevitalounge.net. Let us know what's on your mind. Ask us a random question. We'll talk about it. Yeah. Brian will make a pun.
I make a pun of them.
There he goes. He's on fire.
I can't promise they'll be punny, though.
Oh, so funny. Oh, you got me. Oh.
All right. Well, let's head on over to our game recommendation of this week, and I believe it's Kyle this week.
All right. Well, this week I'd like to recommend Hotline Miami. I don't believe we've recommended this before, and it's published by Devolver Digital, who are pretty awesome. The game's pretty much about a top-down serial killer's wet dream, pretty much. You play as a guy who gets instructions on where to go and, who to kill from his answering machine, and then just kind of, does it for whatever reason. So you're set into environments where there's hostels and people with guns or knives or whatever, and using whatever weapons you can find around you or whatever guns you're carrying, you go through the game and pretty much wipe out everybody in your path, using different masks to change your abilities and to augment what your character can do. So it's a very unique game. It's one that people say is best on Vita, and I'd have to agree. So go get Hotline Miami right now.
I second his notion. It's a fun game. I'm pretty sure I reviewed it.
Yes, you did.
And I gave it a pretty good score. I remember. So yeah, definitely go grab that one. Although keep in mind, like Kyle was saying, it is a murderer's wet dream, so it's very graphic. So
yeah, for a top-down game, it's pretty damn graphic.
Yeah, so be careful if you have children around your Vita.
You know what my favorite part of that game is? The soundtrack.
That is awesome.
Yeah, that
soundtrack is incredible. It's one of those. It's not often, especially with PlayStation Vita games, just due to the portability of the games and usually the way they're designed, that I walk away from a game with that soundtrack lodged in my head. But I've been listening to that Hotline Miami soundtrack since I played it months ago. It just never leaves me. I really love that experience. That's a great pick.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I'm not one to listen to soundtracks either, but I felt the Hotline Miami one was very good. It actually let me keep up my volume, which doesn't really generally happen on games that don't have like a live band soundtrack, so it was different.
Yeah. Well, if you have your own personal game recommendation, be sure to email us at podcast@thevitalounge.net, like I've said like 3 times now. Let us know a game that maybe we haven't recommended yet that you're just loving, so we can let people know about it. But yeah, I think that's all we got for this week. Be sure to check us out on the VitaLounge.net, where we have all the stories that we just talked about in the podcast. The new forum is up and running, so go join that. That's the VitaLounge.net/forum. Sign up, join a conversation, introduce yourself, get some friends, and start playing some games. Also, you can find us all on Twitter. I'm at Mr. PSVITA Reviews. Kyle's at Teflon Tactics. Brian is at Brian G. Sharon. Yuki is at Yuki_WR. Jasper is at JASBZ. And the Vita Lounge is at the Vita Lounge. Also, you can find us on Facebook. Just search the Vita Lounge. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel, Lounge Play, where we post videos of our lounge plays every Saturday. And I post video format of the podcast. I've been trying to keep that up to date. So if you're not wanting to listen to us with our current method, you can check out the podcast on the tubes of you. And yeah, I'd like to thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great week, and go buy OlliOlli.
Right now.
Yeah. Yesterday.
See you.
See ya.